In my early years of gardening, the plans that I had for my garden, well, they always seemed to outweigh what I was actually able to accomplish. You see, I had this habit of biting off more than I could chew. And I don't just mean planting too many seedlings. I mean creating this grand vision in my head and then feeling completely overwhelmed trying to bring it to life. If I'm being honest here, there were times that I questioned whether a big garden was ever going to be in the cards for me, especially when I'd see other people on Instagram or here on YouTube making it all look so effortless. Their rows were tidy, their flowers were blooming, and meanwhile, I was waist deep in weeds wondering what I got myself into. But year after year, I've learned some hard-earned lessons, and slowly I built a system that actually works. Not because it's perfect, but because it honors the fact that my time, energy, and capacity are all limited resources. While our garden certainly started out small back in the day, today, 6 or 7 years later, we're able to manage a much larger garden. Around a 1/4 acre of summer annuals, another 1/4 acre of potted mums, nearly 5 acres of decorative pumpkins, and a few other projects sprinkled in, all without losing our mind. So if you're dreaming of growing a big garden, or maybe you already are and you feel like it's running you, well, I hope this video gives you a few ideas that make things feel a little bit more manageable. So here's what helped me keep my garden and my sanity growing strong. Number 1, I started treating time like a resource, not just money. In the beginning, I resisted anything that cost money. I thought, why would I spend money on something that I could do myself for free? And to be fair, I was on a tight budget, and don't get me wrong, I still am in many ways. But especially back in my early days, if there was a way to save a few dollars, well, I was gonna find it. I was willing to trade just about anything. Time, energy, convenience, if it meant that I could stretch our budget a little further. And what I didn't consider at the time was that my time was also valuable. Case in point, the landscape fabric that we now use in our walkways. You see, when we first started growing, I thought having plastic mulch to keep the weeds at bay in our actual garden beds would be enough. Laying mulch, or in this case, landscape fabric in our pathways to keep them free and clear of weeds, well, I brushed it off, convincing myself that that much landscape fabric would be too expensive. I remember thinking, well, I can weed by hand, it's not that big of a deal. And to be honest, it wasn't. At first. You see, our garden didn't have to be weed-free to bring me joy. In those early years, we grew plenty of beautiful flowers in the middle of what can only be described as a jungle, and I was proud of it. But as we've grown, especially as we transitioned into offering you-pick events and inviting people to experience our farm, things have shifted. It wasn't just about what I could tolerate anymore, it became about what kind of experience I wanted to create for our customers and for myself. And more importantly, I started realizing how much time I was spending maintaining what could have been prevented. I mean, sure, I could spend an hour or two every week weeding walkways, and technically it was free. But that's an hour that I couldn't get back. An hour I could have spent planting or harvesting or marketing or resting or eating lunch like a normal person. Eventually, I had to get honest with myself. Was I saving money or just avoiding the discomfort of investing in something that would make my life easier? Once I made the switch, the benefits, they were immediate. The walkway stayed clean, the weeds stayed down. The hours I used to spend crouched over with a hoe in hand, well, I could now spend moving the business forward or just catching my breath. That shift in thinking, recognizing that time and energy are finite resources, not just money, well, it changed how I approached everything. It helped me start asking better questions. What's the long-term cost of this short-term savings? What could I do with the time this thing is stealing from me? What would it look like to make decisions from a place of sustainability, not just scarcity? And it's funny because I used to think landscape fabric was a luxury. Now I see it as a tool for longevity, a small shift that bought me more time, more capacity, and a whole lot more peace of mind. Okay, along the same lines, number 2. I gave myself permission to make things easier. Now, I know for a lot of us, especially when we're just starting out, imposter syndrome, it hits hard. You look around and think, well, who am I to be doing this? You see others with greenhouses, tractor implements, and streamlined systems, and you wonder if you're just playing dress up in someone else's boots. I remember building our small flower farm from the ground up. We had big dreams, and I always imagined that one day we'd finally be legit enough to justify better equipment. But in those early years, anytime the idea of upgrading came up, I'd push it aside. We don't really need it, I tell myself, that's for people who've made it. Because deep down, I still didn't believe that we were allowed to make things easier yet. But what I've learned, especially after investing last year in a new to us pumpkin planter, it's this. Making things easier on yourself is what creates the space to actually grow. This planter that you see here, it plants 3 rows at once. What used to take me 12 to 14 hours in the heat with a single row pumpkin planter now takes maybe an hour or 2. And that's not just nice, it's game changing. Because saving time gives me the capacity to show up better in every other area of the farm. It lets me focus on the marketing, the harvesting, connecting with customers, the things that actually move us forward. If I'd waited until I felt legitimate to invest in tools that helped, I'd still be stuck doing things the hard way, convinced that struggle was some kind of prerequisite for belonging. But the truth is, ease doesn't make you less legitimate, it means you're building something sustainable. And maybe ease looks different for you. I mean, maybe it means finally investing in drip irrigation so you're not dragging a sprinkler around every night. Maybe it means buying pre-cut bouquet sleeves instead of trimming each one by hand. Or maybe it means ordering plugs of certain flower varieties so you're not starting every flower yourself. Whatever your version of ease looks like, it's not something you have to wait to deserve. You don't have to earn your way to efficiency. You don't have to prove anything by doing it the hard way. You grow into this life by creating space for it, and often that starts by giving yourself permission to stop struggling. Okay, this next one might sound a little out of place, but it's actually one of the most important systems that I have in place for myself, and that is number 3. I schedule fun on purpose. I make space for real life. Now for me, that means intentionally scheduling time with friends. It means slow mornings, little outings I can look forward to, not just because they fill my cup, but because I know I work best with a deadline. I mean, if there's something fun on the calendar, I tend to move more efficiently. I hit certain checkpoints faster because there's a reward waiting on the other side. There was a time when I thought rest had to be earned. Now I know that creating space for joy is part of what keeps this work that I'm doing sustainable. Because when I come back to the garden after a break, well, I return with fresh eyes. I have more energy, more clarity, and I can't say the same for the times that I've tried to push through just for the sake of checking one more thing off my to-do list. Pushing through doesn't always help me to accomplish more. Sometimes it just drains the part of me that loves this work in the first place. And no flower, no perfectly weeded bed or full harvest is worth the kind of fatigue that takes the joy out of growing. Number 4, I always work from a plan, even if I don't stick to it exactly. It's so easy to feel behind when you're watching what other gardeners are sharing online. I know that I felt it. Especially as a northern grower, I used to spiral into comparison anytime I saw my southern friends harvesting something that I hadn't even planted yet. And while logically I knew our timelines were different, I still felt like I was somehow off track. And that's why having a written plan has saved me. Not because I always follow it perfectly, but because it gives me a more accurate benchmark to measure my progress. You know, instead of comparing myself to someone in another zone, I compare myself to where I expect to be. And that's a much kinder and more productive place to work from. Now, as I've gained more experience, one thing that I started to do is to keep a simple record of what we do each week here on the farm. I track things like when we plant our dahlias, when the pumpkins go on the ground, what gets direct seeded, and when. And having those milestones documented means that I can use them as reference in the years that follow. And that makes a huge difference. I mean, it gives me something solid to measure against. Something that reminds me, well, you're actually right on schedule. And so on the weeks when nothing seems to go as planned, because of weather or burnout or just life in general, well, I found that even a loose roadmap helps me adjust with more grace. I can pivot without spiraling. I can shift things without feeling like I've failed. A plan doesn't just keep me organized, it gives me back a sense of control in a season that can feel anything but. Moving on to number 5. I got better at estimating what's actually realistic. To this day, I have this habit of thinking that every task I take on is going to take about an hour. Now, I don't know why, but in my mind, everything is a 1-hour job. Planting a few seedlings, well, that's an hour. Recording a YouTube video, an hour. Editing said video, surely also just an hour. It's become such a running joke that even my friends laugh at how wildly unrealistic I am when it comes to time. But in those early years, it wasn't funny. It was frustrating. I mean, every day felt like a scramble. I'd start the morning with a list of 10 things, convinced I could get them all done, and by evening, well, I'd barely had crossed off 2, and I'd be beating myself up about it. I was always behind, always trying to catch up, and always blaming myself for not doing enough. But over time, 2 things changed. First, I got better at those tasks themselves. I mean, muscle memory is real. The more that I practiced, the faster I got. I wasn't second guessing or overthinking nearly as much. And second, well, I started tracking how long things actually took. Now, not obsessively, just enough to know that planting those trays, definitely more than an hour. That filming and editing a video, way more than just an hour. Having that baseline changed everything. I could finally plan instead of guess. Now I build in margin. I underschedule on purpose because I've learned that overcommitting doesn't just steal my time, it steals my joy. And the whole point of building this life, the garden, the business, the rhythm, is to enjoy it, not just survive it. I don't need to fill every hour to feel accomplished. I just need to move through my day in a way that honors my limits and my life. Number 6, I started choosing crops that match my rhythm. One of the biggest shifts in my business came when I stopped trying to cram everything into the summer season. You see, in the beginning, I assumed that success meant doing more and doing it all during peak growing months. But the truth is that every crop has its own natural rhythm. It has a preferred planting window, a certain number of days to maturity, and a harvesting period that comes with its own pace and demands. And the more that I paid attention to that rhythm, the more I realized I needed to start honoring my own rhythm too. So yes, we grow tulips and daffodils in the spring. Yes, we plant summer annuals. Yes, we raise pumpkins and potted mums in the fall, and yes, we even offer workshops during the winter months. But we don't grow all these things just because they're profitable. We grow them because together they create a year-round rhythm that actually fits our life. They give us seasons of actions and seasons of rest, busy weeks and slower ones. They let us stay connected to our customers across the year without having to do everything all at once. And this idea isn't just for full-time farmers. It applies whether you're growing flowers as a business or as a beautiful side hobby in your backyard. You can grow anything and make it work, but you'll build a much more sustainable garden if you choose crops that make sense for your timeline, for your climate, and for your season of life. That's actually why I share such a wide range of crops and projects here on this YouTube channel. I don't believe that there's one right way to be a flower grower. My hope is that by seeing the different options, tulips, annuals, pumpkins, potted mums, that you'll feel permission to pick and choose what works best for you. Because sustainability isn't just about soil and systems, it's about protecting your energy and building a rhythm that you actually want to live inside of. Now, if you want to dive deeper into how we spread our work across the year, you'll actually want to check out this video here, which I'll link for you in the description box below. But it's all about how I built a flower farm without burning out. Number 7, I lean into small habits that keep me moving forward. It's easy to think that big results come from big action, but more often it's the small, unglamorous habits that actually move the needle. It's the 5 minutes spent deadheading in the evening. It's the daily walkthrough with a notebook. The simple act of putting your tools back where they belong. I know these things don't feel revolutionary, but when you do them consistently, they build momentum, and momentum is everything in a garden of a large size. Because it's not about powering through, it's about showing up in small ways over and over again until the season begins to shape itself. So if your garden feels overwhelming right now, if the weeds are creeping in and the trellising still isn't up and your zinnias are begging to be pinched, start small. Start where you are. Progress, it doesn't have to be loud to be real. It just has to be steady. Okay, so if you haven't figured it out by now, I don't manage a large garden because I'm superhuman or because I have more energy than the average person. I manage it because I've learned to protect the resources that I do have, namely my time, my energy, and my sanity. And if you're dreaming of growing something bigger, whether that's a garden or a business, well, I hope this gives you permission to do it in a way that supports you and that doesn't burn you out. It might not happen overnight, but it's absolutely possible to build something big and beautiful without losing your mind in the process. Now, if you're looking to dive deeper into this topic of building a sustainable flower farm, one that grows with you, I think you'll love this video here that I shared earlier. How I built a flower farm that doesn't burn me out. I'll link it for you in the description box below in case you'd like to take a look. In the meantime, let me just say thank you so much for hanging out with me today. And as always, I can't wait to see you in the next video. Bye guys.